Dhani dha maga maga saga madha Shri Krishna Sharanam Madani dha maga mare ga madani dha madha Shri Krishna Sharanam Madani dha dhani dha maga mare dhani dha ga madha Shri Krishna Sharanam Madani dha dhani dha maga mare sa Shri Krishna Sharanam Madani dha dhani dha
This live satsang is presented by Radha Krishna Foundation in light of the ongoing lockdown and in support of Sri Lakshmi Mandir of West Palm Beach, Florida. Radha Krishna Dham of number 73 Village, Guyana. Dharma Mandir of London, United Kingdom. And Shiva Mandir Ashram of Leguan Island, Guyana.
Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurudeva Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sadguru Maharaj Ki Jai Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki Jai. Devotees of Bhagavan again on this very auspicious Sunday morning, also in this auspicious month of Purushottam Adhik Maas. I extend a most cordial welcome to all of you. We're grateful for all of you joining us this morning, those devotees of Bhagavan who have recognized the importance of feeding the soul with spiritual prasad. For those of us who have realized that in the same way, like we mentioned last week, that we feed the body in order for it to grow, for it to become stronger, for it to become more useful, for it to fulfill the things that we want to. In the same way, it is imperative for us to feed the soul. If not, then the purpose for which we've been given this body will go in vain. So again, a most cordial welcome to all of you. I hope and pray that our little prayer service this morning will bring not only spiritual rewards, but rewards and benefits and comforts at different levels for you in your life and that of your families. Usually when we start prayers, we pray to Ganapati Bhagavan. Ganeshji is the remover of obstacles. He was created by Mata Parvati as a protector. He eliminates disruptions, obstacles, hindrances, and that which stands in the path of a devotee to accomplish anything he embarks upon, especially that which is sattvic, that which is spiritual. We ask Ganapati Bhagavan to remove anything that can cause disturbances to the lives of his devotees, to bless them with success in everything they embark upon in the future. Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvighanam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Sarvamangala-mangalaye Shive Sarvartha-sadhike Sharanye Trayambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. Ganapati Bhagavan is Lambodar, the pot-belly god as we call him, meaning that he has the appetite. He's ready to consume anything that comes his way, to digest them, to make best use of them. Meaning as Lambodar, he's always prepared for all the vicissitudes in life. In the same way as devotees of Ganapati Bhagavan, He's big Ganeshwar. He will destroy that which is destructive. If we decide that if it comes our way, then we should not criticize, we should not condemn, we should not be scared, not be fearful. If Ganapati Bhagwan is there, he consumes everything for his devotees because he is Shambho Kumar. He's the son of Shankar Bhagwan. He's big Ganeshwar. He will destroy and eliminate anything that is harmful. Lambodaraye Bighaneshwara Shambho Kumara Bighaneshwara Lambodaraye Bighaneshwara Shambho Kumara Bighaneshwara Lambodaraye Bighaneshwara Shambho Kumara Bighaneshwara O Lambodaraye Bighaneshwara Shambho Kumara Bighaneshwara Lambodaraye Bighaneshwara Shambho Kumara Bighaneshwara Ambik Tanaya Omkarishwar Ambik Tanaya Omkarishwar Ambik Tanaya Omkarishwar Ambik Tanaya Omkarishwar He Ramb Bighaneshwara He Ramb Bighaneshwara He Ramb Bighaneshwara He Ramb Bighaneshwara Lambodaraye Bighaneshwara Shambho Kumara Bighaneshwara Lambodaraye Bighaneshwara Shambho Kumara Bighaneshwara Vinayaka 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 Vishwadhara Vinayaka Vishwadhara Vinayaka Vishwadhara Vinayaka Vishwadhara Vinayaka O Vinayaka 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 O Vinayaka 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 Siddhi Vinayak Bhav Bhai Nasha 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 Sura Muni Vandit Shri Ganesha 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 O Vishwadhara Vinayaka Vishwadhara Vinayaka गणपति भगवान की जय। For that divine light that is so needed in all our lives every day, in every activity, every moment, we ask Mahalakshmi, Lakshmi Karotu Kalyanam, to shower blessings upon everyone. Arogyam Sukha Sambara, freedom from ailments, from sicknesses and pains. Mama Shatrum Vinashaya, and help them all your devotees to remove all the internal enemies, Kam, Krodh, Moha, Lobha, Ahamkar, jealousy, pride, egoism, lust, anger, etc. Deepa Jyotir, burn them away with that divine light of yours. Jaya Jaya Lakshmi Mata, He Mata, He Mata. Jaya Jaya Lakshmi Mata, He Mata, He Mata. Jaya Jaya Lakshmi Mata, He Mata, He Mata. Tu sun le, tu sun le, tu sun le, मेरी पुकार हो माता। जय जय लक्ष्मी माता, हे माता, हे माता। लक्ष्मी करोतु कल्याणम्, आरोग्यं सुख संपदा, मम शत्रुं विनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोस्तुते। जय जय लक्ष्मी माता, हे माता, हे माता। सिद्धि बुद्धि प्रदे देवी, भुक्ति मुक्ति प्रदायिनी, मंत्रमूर्ति सदा देवी, महालक्ष्मी नमोस्तुते। जय जय लक्ष्मी माता, हे माता, हे माता। तू सुन ले, तू सुन ले, तू सुन ले, मेरी पुकार हो माता। जय जय लक्ष्मी माता, हे माता, हे माता, हे माता, हे माता, हे माता, हे माता। प्रेम से बोलो महालक्ष्मी माता की जय। Devotees of Bhagavan, we're well aware that we're still in the season of Purushottamas, and so we give prayers to Bhagavan. Purushottam Bhagavan, chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita says that Bhagavan Sri Krishna is Purushottam. We read the Katha last week of how Bhagavan gave his name and his power to Malmas Devi to make this month so auspicious. And so there's a beautiful Ashtakam which we'll chant a verse from or two that is called the Purusha Ashtakam, not the Purusha Suktam. It's also called the Purushottam Ashtakam. It's an appropriate prayer, especially in this month. It describes Bhagavan Sri Krishna as a chor. Chor means as a thief, the one who steals most notably Makhan, but not only that, he steals other things. As we'll examine, if we can group our voices together, Braje Prasiddham Navanita Chauram. Chauram here means, like in Hindi, chor means the one who steals. So let's focus the mind in Bhagavan Sri Krishna in this auspicious month as we pray to Makhan Chor. This is how the words go. Braje prasidham Navanit chauram Gopangananam chadukul chauram. Braje prasiddham. Prasiddha means, in this case, which he is most famous for. In Braj, Bhagavan Sri Krishna is most famous for what? Navanita chauram. Chauram here means to steal. Navanit, the one who steals butter. Gopangananam chadukul chauram. Not only does he steal butter, when he was very little and the gopis would bathe in the Yamuna, Krishna would go secretly and he'll steal their clothes and he'll hide it up in the bush somewhere and he'll run away. Aneka janmarjita papanasham. Not only does he steal the clothes from gopis or butter from all the residents of Vrindavan, but aneka janma, what else can he steal? Jita papa chauram. The sins that we've accumulated, aneka janma, in so many, in uncountable past lifetimes, aneka janma jita papa chauram, that too he will steal from us. If we supplicate, if we surrender, if we love him. He doesn't ask for anything. He just asks for love. Chauragar ganyam purusham namami. If we do naman karde to Bhagavan Sri Krishna, all those things he will steal. Shall we group our voices together as we sing Braje Prasiddham? Braje Prasiddham Navanit Chauram Gopangananam Chadukul Chauram. Braje Prasiddham Braje Prasiddham Navanit Chauram Gopangananam Chadukul Chauram. Aneka janma jit papunasham. Aneka janma jit papa chauram. Chauragraganyam purusham namami. Gaye. Braje prasidham navanita chauram Gopangananam chadukul chauram. The other verse says that he Sri Radha kaya hridayasya chauram, that what he also steals, hridayasya chauram, from Radharani, he steals her heart. Navambudasya malakanti chauram, that he even steals the beauty from a fresh rain-laden cloud. You know how beautiful a cloud is that is just set up with rain? It is said that Krishna, he steals even that. Why? Because he's more beautiful than a young rain-laden cow. Padashitanam cha samasta chauram. If one bows to his feet, if one does namaskar to Kanhaiya, then he seals the sufferings from every devotee and he gives them his personal shelter. All we have to do to attain all those things is Chaura Garganyam Purusham Namami. Sri Radhikaya Hridayasya Chauram Navambudasya Malakanti Chauram. Sri श्रीराधिकाया हृदयस्य चौरं नवाम्बुधश्यामलकान्तिचौरम् पदाश्रितानां च समस्तचौरम् पदाश्रितानां हृदयस्य चौरं चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि। गाइए। ब्रजे प्रसिद्धं नवनीतचौरं गोपाङ्गनानां चतुकुलचौरम् ब्रजे प्रसिद्धं नवनीतचौरं गोपाङ्गनानां चतुकुलचौरम् अनेकजन्मार्जितपापचौरम् अनेकजन्मार्जितपापचौरं चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि। ब्रजे प्रसिद्धं नवनीतचौरं गोपाङ्गनानां चतुकुलचौरम् ब्रजे प्रसिद्धं नवनीतचौरं गोपाङ्गनानां चतुकुलचौरम् ब्रजे प्रसिद्धं नवनीतचौरं गोपाङ्गनानां चतुकुलचौरम्। वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय। To that Kanhaiya who steals the heart of any devotee, to that Kanhaiya, let us all group our voices together as we sing His glories, as we seek His blessings. Lord Bhagwan, please steal our hearts as well. When you do so, then we know one thing for sure: there was no one who was happier than Radharani. There was no one who had you in her heart consistently and constantly, regardless of what the situation was. That was Radharani. In the same way, we'd like for you to reside in our hearts, for we know that that will bring tremendous joy and happiness to all of us. जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो 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 जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री कृष्ण बोलो 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 जय राधे जय Krishna bolo Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Krishna bolo Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Krishna bolo Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Krishna bolo Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Krishna bolo Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Krishna bolo Jai Radhe, oh Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Krishna bolo Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Krishna bolo 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 Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Krishna bolo Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Krishna bolo Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Krishna bolo Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Krishna bolo 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 Jai Radhe. Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki Jai.
Radha Krishna Foundation launches RKF Virtual Academy, a unique blend of curriculum-based cultural and academic e-learning programs on a fully integrated learning management system designed for all ages. With qualified professional instructors at all levels, we aim to deliver the most amazing learning experience from the comfort of your home, all free of cost. Yoga, meditation, and pranayama for adults and children. Karate, classical dance, vocal, tabla, Sanskrit, Hindi, Bhagavad Gita recitation, and tutoring for the CSEC and National Grade 6 exams. In a new world without boundaries, we have made all our programs available to everyone around the globe, structured for multiple time zones, regardless of race, religion, or age. Registration begins on October 1st, 2020 on our website radhakrishnafoundation.com. Take advantage of this unique opportunity for your children and yourself. Share with your family and friends. Make a commitment to yourself now. Let's all learn and grow together. RKF Virtual Academy, mobilizing minds, empowering lives. Radha Krishna Foundation presents an international event. Friday, November 13th, 2020. Deepavali, Return of Light.
Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki Jai. Before we examine one Gita verse today, I just want to, this story comes to mind, a little story of little Kanhaiya, singing the Purushta Ashtakam, that he steals everything. And when he steals something, the whole intention is to ensure, to try to get the devotee to remember him. Why? So that the devotee can be blessed. I remember a little leela of one gopi who wasn't living in where Krishna was living, in Gokul, but she had married and come from Mathura. And so she heard of all these leelas of Krishna, and she's so eager to meet him, and she heard of all the gopis who wanted to catch him. Just for the fun of it, the gopis will make the makhan, the butter, and put it in their house in a place where Krishna can come and see it, steal it. Why? Because this is their way of exercising their devotion. And so this new devotee came from Mathura, and she's inquiring from her mother-in-law as to how is it that they can catch Kanhaiya when he comes to steal the makhan. Remember, Kanhaiya doesn't need to steal makhan. His father, Nanda Baba, he had the most cows in the village, 900,000 cows. And so there was absolutely never a time when Kanhaiya needed to steal. But this was his leela. This is how he fulfilled the wishes of all the devotees, all the gopis. So this daughter-in-law said to her mother-in-law that, look, you leave this upon me, because the mother-in-law said, I can never catch this Kanhaiya. I've been trying my whole life since he was born, and I couldn't catch him. So she says, don't worry, leave him to me. I know the tricks. I'll catch him. The mother-in-law told the daughter-in-law, look, there's a condition. Whenever someone goes to Yashoda Maiya and tells her that Kanhaiya is stealing their butter, she doubts it. She says, look, I cannot tolerate all his complaints anymore, that if you want to convince me that Kanhaiya has stolen your butter, then you have to catch him, and he has to have butter in his hand and on his mouth, and bring him to me and show me. That's the only way I'll be convinced. So this new gopi that came from Mathura, she realized, okay, this is the condition. So she says to her mother-in-law, don't worry, I'll catch his Kanhaiya. He's not too smart for me. He's a little boy. He's just about 2.5 years old. So she made some makhan, with Kanhaiya in mind, and she put it there, and she's waiting for him to come. And so Kanhaiya, he's understanding what's happening, so he showed up. He never fails, the devotee. Remember last week we discussed that. So he shows up, he puts his hand into the butter jar, and he's eating and having a good time. He looked around first and sure nobody's there. The gopi is hiding behind the wall. Kanhaiya is having a good time, and she came and she grabbed him by his hand. Ha, I caught you today. This is what I've been waiting on for a very long time. So now I'm going to take you to Yashoda Didi and show her that you are indeed a butter thief. So she holds his hand and she's walking. But not only in the olden days, even today if you go to India, especially in the countryside, you'll see the ladies, they're wearing something on their head, right? They call it a gungat, gungat, like an orni, we say. But they wear it in a particular way, not on their shoulder or like on their head. They wear it and they cover a whole part of their face, right? They pull it over their forehead, so like this part, and their peripheral vision is also covered when they're doing this. Right? So when it's hanging here, they can't see to the sides or anything. They only want to see to the front. That's how the older people, till today, they wear it. If you go to the countryside, you'll see. So this gopi was wearing her gungat because that's her tradition. That's their tradition. They wear this thing all the time. So she's walking with Kanhaiya, holding his hand, and taking Kanhaiya to Yashoda Maiya. So Kanhaiya is thinking how to get out of this problem. Yashoda Maiya is sitting on the porch in front. And so Kanhaiya is walking past a little friend. And the friend says to him, hey, Aren't you the one who always used to show off that you can never get caught by anybody, that you can steal makhan whenever you want? Kanhaiya says, who told you I got caught? Yeah, you got caught. Look, you're gonna go to Yashoda Maya now. He says, no, I'm not caught. You want to see? Come. So he calls the little friend. You come with me, see if I'll get caught. So when they're turning into the driveway, the walkway of Kanhaiya's house, Kanhaiya starts making up this story. Oh, auntie, my hand is hurting me so badly. You've been squeezing it all this time coming here. You hold me so tightly that my blood is not flowing. You need to release this hand and let me give you the other hand, because my hand is paining. Remember, Gopi is wearing the gungat. So she says, okay, no problem, give me the other hand. Kanhaiya took his friend's hand and put it in the Gopi's hand. And now the Gopi is holding the friend's hand and walking. And she goes to Yashoda Maya, says, Didi, here's Kanhaiya. I finally caught him. You said nobody can catch him. Yashoda Maya is watching. What are you talking about? I don't see any Kanhaiya. What do you mean you don't see Kanhaiya? And she pulled the gungat. And she looked at the little boy. This little boy, according to the Katha, was her own little, we call it Devar, her own little brother-in-law. Little boy like that was Kanhaiya's friend. Hold him by a hand and showing Yashoda Maya caught. It wasn't Kanhaiya. In the meantime, Kanhaiya had run away from there and sat in his mother's lap. Kanhaiya sitting on my lap? What are you talking about? You didn't catch anybody? And she goes like, hey, Bhagwan, I've had him all this way, and still. For the rest of the Gopi's life, she's thinking, oh God, look how mean I was to Kanhaiya. Look what I did to him. Did I really catch him? He casts all these doubts in her mind. What is the purpose of that? The purpose is to get them to do Smaran Bhakti. Smaran Bhakti is to think of Kanhaiya. That's all you have to do, a devotee has to do. And then you remain in bliss for the rest of your life. And then you also attain him. So a little story to show that why is it that Kanhaiya is this chaudam, this chor, that he steals the hearts of the gopis and then he puts the blame on you so that you can always be thinking about it. So now, let's look at, this is verse 10 of chapter 7, Bhagavad Gita. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bijam Mam Sarva Bhutanam Vidhi Partha Sanatana. Bijam Mam Sarva Bhutanam Vidhi Partha Sanatanam. Buddhi Buddhi Matamasmi Tejasvinamaha. Tejasvinamaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki Jai. Bijamam Sarva Bhutanam, O Arjun, that I am the eternal seed of all beings. I am the intellect of the intelligent, and I am the splendor of the glorious. And so Kanhaiya, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, is saying in Bhagavad Gita, Bijamam Sarva Bhutanam, that I am the cause and the effect relationship that we know about. We know of many things like that, cause and effect. We discussed this a few months ago. We talked about the ocean and the waves, cause and effect. We talked about the pot and the mud. We talked about gold and jewelry, the gold being the cause and the effect is dually. So here, bijam means seed, S-E-E-D. Sarva Bhutanam. Krishna here is saying that I am the seed of every living thing. Essentially, a cause and effect relationship. That every cause is the seed of its effect, that we know. For example, let's take the ocean again. The ocean should be or can be considered the seed of what? Of the clouds, right? How clouds are formed. That we know, it's called evaporation. You know, the water becomes vapor and then forms clouds, etc., in short. So because of evaporation, that causes rain clouds, but the water came from the ocean. So here, to give an example so that we are clear with this, the ocean is the seed of the clouds. The ocean essentially has caused the cloud. Similarly, Bhagavan says here in this verse that in the same way that when it rains, that a cloud is the seed of the rain, right? So the ocean, seed of the clouds, clouds, seed of the rain. Those are two little examples that we can use. So Krishna is saying here that the seed from which all beings have been created, that is me. Like those examples we talked about. So the seed of us, the cause for us to have been born and to be surviving, the seed of that, of our existence, is Bhagavan. He's saying this in this verse. But sometimes we'll question that and we'll say, well, we're not so sure. We know that we've come from our parents. You know, in the stomach of our mother, we were created there. And I'm not sure what Bhagavan has to do with that. Well, in the same way that, you know, I remember about just more than 10 years ago, this huge aeroplane came out. Everyone wanted to ride inside. I think it's called the A380. You know, it can hold maybe 700-800 passengers if you were to put just seats inside. But with everything else, it can always be 400 or 500 people in there. Now, if you take this airplane, before this airplane was built, there was like thousands, probably millions of parts on the ground. Those parts on the ground would not be able to fly. Lots of parts, too many. But these are parts for that aeroplane. Now, what it requires for that aeroplane to fly is a particular intelligence. That intelligence would be able to put those parts together, forming an airplane and causing it to fly. So in the same way, when we're created in our mother's stomach, you know, scientifically we might credit this to, you know, obstetrics and all the other names, gynecology, etc., etc. But we're also smart enough to know that those things, those sciences, are not the reason for our creation. They just help the process. They watch it. If something is going wrong, they try to fix it if they can. They give you information and things like that. But it's not the cause of a human body from a microscopic dot to become a beautiful human being 9 months, 8 months, 10 months after. There's a particular intelligence that is working in the mother's stomach to take something from a seed into a beautiful human being. And it's not gynecology. It's not the things we mentioned. So in the same way, Bhagavan is saying that Bija Mam Sarva Bhutana, that I am the seed of every living being. I am the reason why it is my intelligence in you that is causing everyone to be walking, to be breathing, to be able to do things. Let us see how Scripture helps us to understand it.
नर मर कत इव सब ही न छावत राम खगेश वेद अस गावत नर कत नर नत मर कत इव सब ही निछावत राम खगेश वेद अस गावत राम सिया राम जय जय राम बोलो राम सिया राम जय जय राम ओ नरकत मरकत सब ही निछावत राम खगेश वेद अस गावत राम सिया राम जय जय राम बोलो राम सिया राम जय जय राम बोलो राम सिया राम जय जय राम
Nat markat eva sabahina chavat. That in the same way, Ramayana tells us, Bhagavan Sri Ram in the same way, nat markat, in the same way that a person, a juggler for example, makes a monkey. He trains a monkey to do whatever the monkey wants. So a juggler, you know, those balls that fly up in the air and you see a juggler have 5, 6, 10, pieces of articles, and there's an intelligence. Those things are not just happening. In the same way, when a monkey is dancing, the juggler is controlling the monkey. There's an intelligence behind the monkey dancing. There's an intelligence in all the things that are flying up in the air, not touching the ground. In the same way, it says here, Bhagavan Sri Ram, Rama ka gesa veda asagavat. That Ved tells us it is the grace of Bhagavan that is making us as human beings move and breathe and be alive. So that's the first point. There are 3 points in this verse. The second one is Buddhir Buddhimatasmi. Buddhir Matasmi means that what this does is that it removes, firstly, it removes the ahamkar. I'll tell you how. Ahamkar means our pride, our false pride. This is how this helps us to remove it. Because, first of all, not all living beings have an intellect, right? We all know that. But among human beings, each human being has an intellect. But there are 8,400,000 species and there are no intellects, they're only the human being. So we have a buddhi because of which we are called buddhimat. Buddhimat means the capacity to discriminate. Animals cannot discriminate, they work on instincts. But human beings, we can discriminate. So that buddhi, that rational capacity that we have within us, or which is called free will. Bhagavan is saying here, Buddhir Buddhimatasmi. Asmi means, this is mine, it's me. So Bhagavan is saying, that buddhi is me. That accomplishment of intellectual discipline that anyone has that can do things in flying colors, that very capacity to do those things, Bhagavan is saying, that's me. So the reason why we say that it removes the ahamkar is because nobody can say, any intelligent person can say that this is me and I've caused this. It is because of me that I'm so smart, that I'm so intelligent, that I'm so brilliant. No, you had no contribution to it when you came into this world with a brain. You can develop it to become stronger, that's a thing. And science has proven that we can make it better. But this buddhi, however better we make it, Bhagavan is saying, that is me. Aham. And so the third point here is tejas vinamaha. Tejas vinamaha means the brilliance, tej. This is the third and final point of this verse. The tej here, the brilliance that one shows in his life and in his activities, Bhagavan is saying that too is me. Because everybody is a buddhimat. Buddhimat meaning we all have an intellect. But a person who makes a greater effort is the one who becomes brilliant or more brilliant. If you sit nowadays, this term is even used for the brains. My nephew was telling me one day, even for the brains, they say if you don't use it, you lose it. That is true. If you use it, if you keep doing things, now science has also proven that when it comes to Alzheimer's and all these things, that the people who use their brains constantly, and the example given is like school professors, that those people don't generally have Alzheimer's. Why? Because they keep using their brains every day. If you don't use it, you lose it, and then there are bad after effects. So Bhagavan is saying here that intelligence, that brilliance within you, that's me. So a person who makes greater effort becomes brilliant, becomes more educated. The brilliance that he is able to tap within himself. You think you can't do something, and then you really work hard and you think about it really hard, and all of a sudden you're able to do it. These days they call it, oh, I didn't know to do it, but I just Googled it. You Google it. You're tapping deeper into this ability that you have, that Bhagavan, that radiance, that light that sits within you when you try to figure stuff out. Bhagavan is saying that it is a given that some people are more intelligent and more brilliant than others in their ideas. And so the only explanation for something like that, the only explanation why this can be, is that everything is God's energy. He's saying, Bijam Mam Sarva Bhutanam, Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita, all saying the same thing. That those qualities, the outstanding qualities visible in any such person, is due to God's grace, because He's saying, I am that person, I am that power within you. He's that subtle force behind the intelligent and the glorious. This is why we said in the beginning that we cannot claim that, give ourselves full credit for how smart we are. However, if we work harder, we'll get smarter. That's a given. But some people are just on the fly, as they say. Like Shakespeare in literature, Mozart in music, Einstein in science, Bill Gates or Steve Jobs in information technology or communication technology, Rabindranath Tagore or Tulsidas in poetry. These are standout people who are so brilliant, who have left indelible impressions in this world for us so that we can follow. But this is what Bhagavan says about that in this Doha.
मैं किया न करी सको सब ही करता मोर ना मैं किया न करी सको सहिब करता मोर, करत करावत आप है, तुलसी तुलसी शोर। बोलो राम बोलो राम, बोलो राम बोलो राम, बोलो राम बोलो राम, बोलो राम बोलो राम। ओ राधे श्याम राधे श्याम, राधे श्याम राधे श्याम, राधे श्याम राधे श्याम, राधे श्याम राधे श्याम। Here Tulsidas ji is saying, Tulsidas ji has written the Ramayana, the Bhasha Ramayana, the one that was translated from Sanskrit into Bhasha, into Hindi about just more than 500 years ago. Here's what Tulsidas ji is saying, that neither did I write the Ramayana, nor do I have the ability to write such a thing, to put together such a brilliant piece of historical poetry, that Bhagavan, that the Lord is my doer. He directs my actions and He acts through me. But the world thinks that, Tulsidas ji has written the Ramayana. And so Sri Krishna, in a very similar way, has clearly stated that He is the brilliance of the brilliant, and He is the intellect of the intelligent. And so Tulsidas ji can clarify this for us. Why? Because Tulsidas ji was a saint. He sees beyond the body and the intellect and the mind, etc. And so he knows who's working within him to put together something so brilliant. Another way to look at this is, another way to look at the seed. Coming back to Bija Mam Sarva Bhutanam, that, the origin of all beings, or like the origin of all beings, meaning unlike the origin of all beings, for us to have a beautiful tree, a flower plant, a vegetable, for that to happen, what happens to the seed? Bhagavan says, I am the seed. When you put the seed in the ground, something happens for you to have a beautiful tree. And what happens is the seed has to be destroyed. If the seed is not destroyed, there will be no tree. Because the seed has realized that inside of me, there is intelligence. To put that in a colloquial term, that there's treeness inside that seed. And without the seed being destroyed, that all that intelligence, all that treeness, all that spirituality and grace that's within that seed will be of absolutely no use if we don't destroy the seed. So the intelligence within that seed destroys the seed, and a miracle happens. A miracle of a tree, a little plant, a beautiful flower. But it doesn't just happen by chance, right? When we put a seed in the ground, for everyone who plants a garden, what do you have to do? When you put a seed in the ground, you have to water it. The seed will be destroyed, but there's a process for it to be destroyed. That it has to be watered. By virtue of watering it and for it, by it having and receiving sunlight and everything else, then that seed will grow. Why? When that seed, when it comes beyond the surface of the earth, the seed has been destroyed and the plant is now showing. So we water the seed and we're ready to nurture this plant. However, around this little plant now, there's some weeds starting to grow. So when we apply water to the plant, the weeds are there. Now the water doesn't have the ability to differentiate between weeds and the plant. As long as we pour water there, the weeds will grow and the plant will grow. But our intention is not to water the weeds, but the weeds will grow. Because there's no intelligence there to differentiate. The water doesn't have that to only feed the plant. Because the water cannot discriminate. But we as human beings, we have what is called buddhi. Remember, we are the only of 8,400,000 species. We have buddhi, we have intelligence. We are buddhimat, we have the intelligence to discriminate between weeds and plant. And so we have to use it to do that. And so in the world, for those people who do, for those of us who do, some lawn care or some, taking care of your lawn. I remember many years ago when I first moved to Florida, I saw this and I'm asking my brother-in-law, Suresh, what's going on? How can we get rid of these weeds? I don't know how you do that. And he told me that you have to go to Home Depot and get something called weed and feed. I'm like, okay. Never heard of that. Never heard of, Ravi's laughing. Never heard of weed and feed before. But weed and feed is this miraculous thing in my mind, because what it does is that it feeds the grass or the plant and it destroys the weeds. So two things are happening in one. So this weed and feed is our spiritual education. That which we are listening to right now. Without this, we will continue to grow weeds. Without spiritual intelligence, without knowing the scriptures, we will continue to nurture weeds in our lives. But we need to kill these weeds. If not, what happens if you don't kill the weed? Eventually, it kills the plants. Because we know that many weeds grow faster and more healthy than the plants. I was born and I was raised in the countryside in Guyana, and so I know one thing for sure. The people who are planting rice, rice cultivation, there's a separation between every rice bed, right? And on that separation, the people are cultivating their rice, but there's something growing there. I don't know the right name. They used to call it morina. I don't know if that's the right name, sorry. But this thing will grow so fast, it will grow much, much faster and taller than the rice that the people are spending so much money to cultivate. Why? The same fertilizer they applied to the rice plants in the rice bed, it's catching on those weeds also, and the weeds growing faster and they're more healthy. So the point is, there are weeds all around us. And we have to know, we have to be able to apply weed and feed. If we don't apply it, if we just only put energy towards it, then the weeds will also grow. Scripture helps us to understand what are the weeds that we're talking about. Because there's another example that we can use. So let's see how Bhagavad Mahapuran helps us to understand how we'll be able to get rid of this, and if we don't, what happens. Sri Krishna Govinda Hare Murari He Nath Narayan Vasudeva Sri Krishna Govinda Hare Murari He Nath Narayan Vasudeva Sri Krishna Govinda Hare Murari He Nath Narayan Vasudeva Sri Krishna Govinda Hare Murari He Nath Narayan Vasudeva He Nath Narayan Vasudeva He Nath Narayan Vasudeva He Nath Narayan Vasudeva He Nath
तरोर्मूलनिषेचनेन तृप्यन्ति तत्स्कन्धभुजोपशाखा प्राणोपहारस्य यतेन्द्रियाणां तथैव सर्वानमुच्यते। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव। Here Bhagavad Mahapuran in the 4th canto, 31st chapter, 14th verse is saying that when we pour water on the root of a tree, what does it do? It energizes the trunk, the branches, the leaves, the fruits, the flowers, and everything. Or the other example that is given in this verse, that when we, tripyanti, that when we eat food as human beings, what does it do? We need vitamins A, B, C, D, all the numbers and all the letters, but we don't eat separate food at a different time. We eat food that has all these vitamins, in it, and the body does the rest. It creates blood and cells and marrow and everything else. We don't have to tell the body what to do, just feed it with all the right nutrients. In the same way that water cannot differentiate between weed and seed, where we put our energy, that thing will be fed. What do I mean by that? I mean that if you put your energy or your awareness, right? Where awareness goes, the quote is that where awareness goes, energy flows. So if you put your awareness on anything, that is where energy will go, and that thing will grow. Because like the water, energy cannot differentiate between that which is good and that which is not good for you. Energy will do what energy does, and on top of that, we have finite amount of energy. We don't have an, infinite amount of energy. You do things during the day and you get tired. You have to rest. Why? Because you're out of energy. So in the same way, if we put our energy where, to the hate that we have within us, or the doubts that we have within us, or criticism, or condemnation, or gossiping habit, etc., etc. If you put your energy into those things, those habits will grow. Because energy cannot differentiate which is a good habit and which is a bad habit, just like water. But if we place our energies, meaning our thought process, on that which is good, meaning respect and compassion and gratitude and selflessness and learning and devotional practices, essentially spirituality. If we place our energy every day on those beautiful sattvic qualities, those will grow. It is what we put our energy in that will grow, because energy cannot discriminate. So anything you think about any one of those bad habits, you will become better and better and better. Today I hate one person, tomorrow you will hate 10 people. Because you're giving energy to hate. If you're doubtful of one thing today, you're doubtful of God in one name, tomorrow you'll doubt all forms of God. If you're critical of one thing, you'll be critical of everything else, because you're giving energy to that, to the criticism within you. Remember, Bhagavan says, Bijam mam sarva bhutanam, I am the brilliance within you I've given you buddhi for you to discriminate. We cannot only put energy in something without discriminating whether it is right for you or wrong for you. But here's what many of us will say. We've all had some kind of experience in life before. If you're sitting with me now, I'm saying this, you will say, look, how
how do I lead myself out of this? How did I get these bad habits? And how would one bad habit lead to so many other bad habits? If I just have jealousy, that's the only thing. If I have hate, that's the only thing. Nothing else can happen. Oh, that's not true. Why do I say it's not true? Scripture tells us that it's not true. Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama, 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 Sri Krishna Sharanam Dhyayato Vishayam Punsam Sangate Pujayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Kama Krodho Bijayate Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama 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 Sri Krishna Sharanam. So this is Bhagavad Gita, verses 62 and 63 of the second chapter, rather. Dayato Vishayam Punsan. This verse is saying that in the same way, let's take attachment, for example. This is one of the things that we can give energy to, attachment. We attach to everything. Let's assume this is a bad thing that we're attached to. It can harm us. If it is not accomplished, if it is accomplished, if a desire is accomplished, it leads to greed for more. If it is not accomplished, it leads to what? To anger. That is just a plain old fact. So here this verse is reminding us that attachment leads to desire. Desire leads to anger. Anger leads to the clouding of your judgment, because you can't think properly when you're angry. And the clouding of the judgment results in confusion of the memory. You can't think straight, you're confused. When the memory is bewildered, when you're confused, the intellect gets destroyed because you're not using it. Remember, you don't use it, you what? You lose it. So when you're angry, when you're bewildered, coming from attachment, you can't think straight, so the intellect gets destroyed. And this is scriptural, this is not my assumption. When the intellect gets destroyed, what happened? A person is ruined completely. If your intellect gets destroyed, what do we call that in common lingo? We know the word. A crazy guy. He's mad. He doesn't know to use his intellect. He's only fit for the mental asylum. That's when the intellect gets destroyed. That is what happens to us. And the root of it was anger. And it leads to all these different things. So coming back to the point, whatever we nurture will grow. And here Scripture is telling us, if you nurture one of these adharmic or tamasic qualities, they will all show up in our lives. When they show up, they will destroy us. So nurturing one weed is good enough to do the job. One weed. You nurture one weed, all of a sudden, the whole field is filled with weeds. And the same way, nurture anyone. Jealousy, pride, anger, anything. And the rest of them will show up uninvited. Not only show up, they will do their work to the best of their ability. They will do what they do best, which is destroy you. Is that really the case? One thing can destroy us, one bad quality? Let's take this example before we close. of one bad quality. Let's take a deer, for example. A deer is such a beautiful animal, but it has a weakness. And a weakness is sound, right? You ever go into the forest or to the safari or something and look at a deer, see how it's watching? He's moving its head, he's listening what's going on. He hears a noise from very far. That is why it's so difficult to catch a deer. He hears the slightest noise. So its weakness is sound. However, even though it hears the slightest noise, there's a particular kind of noise that you can play and it will attract the deer. So the hunter plays a very melodious sound, and the deer is drawn to that sound, and what happens to it? It gets shot. It's dead. Because of one weakness, a weakness to sound. A fish, it has a weakness, one weakness, and that is taste. It sees a little worm wiggling in the water like that, and it cannot resist. The fish doesn't know that that's a fisherman with a hook in the water with a little worm at the end of the hook. The fish sees a little worm wiggling there, and so it figures out that's a good taste to have, and it swims up to it, he bites it, and what happens to it? It's finished. Its life comes to an end. An insect, its weakness is a sense of sight. It sees something bright and it wants to fly towards it. You ever look at the light, the lamppost outside in the night and see how many flies are going around there? How many insects are swimming? Thousands they're flying around it. Why? They're attracted by the light. People bring a particular type of light in their house to attract the bugs to kill them because they're attracted to that light. So an insect is attracted to that light, it flies towards it, and this time it's fire. It flies straight into the fire and life comes to an end. Or it flies too close up to that light, which is very hot, and it lands on it and it fries to death. The very powerful elephant, its weakness is a sense of touch. So it's not easy to subdue an elephant. So the hunter puts a she-elephant in a hole. And the elephant follows that she-elephant because its weakness is touch from the other elephant. It gets into this dungeon and will follow the other elephant into the dungeon, and it gets trapped. The elephant's life comes to an end. And the final one is a beautiful story in scripture, but I'll just mention it, not reading the story. A bee. A bee is attracted to smell. You know the hummingbees? You know the bees that pollinate? They go and they get honey from the flower. So this bee went to the lotus flower. It wants to go there for its nectar. And it's enjoying the nectar. And night is coming. And the bee says, there's so much enjoyment here that I don't want to leave right now. But when the night comes, the lotus flower would what? It will close, right? And the bee realized that the flower will close and it would not be able to escape. But it's enjoying the nectar. But he says to himself that, I will stay right here, enjoy this nectar all night. I'll wait until tomorrow, and when this flower opens again, by then I'll have so much fun. When the flower opens, I'll just fly away. So the bee had a plan. And it waited. The lotus closed. And it's enjoying the nectar. In the evening, an elephant came, and it plucks that same lotus flower and pulls it into its mouth. What happens to the bee? All its dreams for tomorrow just came to an end abruptly. For one weakness, the weakness of smell. And so the bee did not want to give up. it fell prey to one weakness. We as human beings, we have so many. Kam, Krodh, Moh, Lobha, Hamkar. If we feed anyone, all of them will show up and will be destroyed. So what we have to do? We have to use Bijam Mam Sarva Bhutanam, this divinity within us, to not feed that which is harmful to us. Because if we feed them, they'll never be satiated. It will be like pouring ghee into the fire. You know, when you pour ghee in a cotton wool, what happens? It goes down almost like it looks like you were out, but then the fire gets bigger. So what we have to do is create an image of Bhagwan. Create an image of God that we can close our eyes and imagine. When we get into difficult situations, then we place our attention on that image. We place our energy, our awareness on that image, and it will help us to calm down. And when we do that, then we'll be able to blossom, because now we're doing two things in one. We're starving the weeds by thinking about Bhagavan, a form of Hanumanji, Shankar, Bhagavan, whatever form of God. And we're starving the urge to spew hate and criticism and doubt, etc. We're thinking of Bhagavan, so we'll grow spiritually, the plant will grow while we're killing the weed. This is how we use the weed and feed in our lives. Create an image of Bhagavan. So some people would say that, listen, I understand everything you're saying. Maybe you'll even say it makes sense. I'm not saying that. Maybe someone will say that listening, that look, it makes sense. I get it. But I practice these things all the time. And I still get trouble. That sometimes 1 week, I'm the best thing to my family and to my friends since sliced bread. I've been the best thing for so many years. And I've done nothing differently. I'm not living a different life. I'm just doing all the things I have always been doing. And one day I showed up and I've become the worst thing since Ravan. From the best thing since sliced bread to the worst thing since Ravan, and you have not done anything different. So you go like, why should I practice this? It's not helping. I do nothing different and I get trouble. So what is the remedy? The remedy here in closing is that when this happens to you, people say they sit and they plot. All you have to do is say something that is not necessarily wrong, but something that is not appreciated by them, or something that is not working in their best self-interest. You don't have to do anything wrong. Just one of 100 things you have done or said, and this one doesn't work for them, and you become the worst thing since Ravan. And they'll say, they'll make a commitment, they'll make a vow. You see that person, he's done that thing, he said this thing, I'll bury them. They'll never be able to survive to do this to me again, or to do this to anybody. In the meantime, you've done nothing wrong. So how do you handle such a situation? Going back to the verse, when such a situation arises in your life and people bury you, we use this term very loosely, I'll bury him or her. When they bury you, become a seed. Remember the seed we talked about? Become a seed. When you put a seed under the ground, it's not getting to see the beautiful sunlight and the beauty of the world. It's sunken into the earth, and there's snow, and there's heat, and there's too much water, or there's too little water. There's people walking on top of it, all kinds of things happening to it. What does the seed do? The seed becomes a beautiful plant. It doesn't care about what's happening externally. It focuses on what it does best. It focuses on becoming a plant, and from that plant, it becomes one of these huge trees that we see in Florida here or wherever we live. A big peepal tree. All of a sudden, you can take shade under that tree. The same people that try to bury you will be able to help. How? Because you lead by example.
You'd lead them by doing the right thing, not by taking on and feeding and giving energy to criticism, but focusing on being a seed, becoming the tree that gives shade to others and gives fruits to others and beautifying the place. So when people try to bury you, Bhagavad Gita says, Bijam Mam, remember that I am the seed that has caused you to survive, and you can be the seed to set an example and a legacy for other human beings. Become a seed, blossom, beautify, help, give shade, set an example. So let's always remember that in closing, that when we meet with these situations in life, that last week we were the best thing since sliced bread, and all of a sudden we're the worst thing since Ravan, and people are trying to bury you. Remember the theory. Remember the example of the seed and become Tejasvi. Use the brilliance that is within you, which is Bhagavan, and grow. Bring beauty to the environment and help those same people who try to harm you. So just to remember those few points, firstly, just like how the cloud is the seed of the rain, Bhagavan is saying that I am the cause of your existence. Remember always that Bhagavan says, I've given you buddhi, unlike animals, so you can know what is right from what is wrong, and you can do the right thing always by humanity. If you do so, you'll be able to attain me. Remember that Bhagavan says that the smarts that you enjoy is my brilliance, being evident in your activities. And the harder you apply yourself, the better you'll become. All you have to do is harness and enhance the power within you, which is me. Remember that in the same way that water cannot differentiate between weeds and plants, energy cannot differentiate between good and bad habits. Either will grow. Whichever one you give energy to, it will grow. And it will lead to the embellishment of that particular mindset. Just like the very powerful elephant, when it leads to the growth of that mindset, all the other negative traits will grow as well. But one is enough to cause our destruction, feeding one of them. Like the powerful elephant, just one, its weakness to touch, and it was trapped by just one person. It didn't have to defeat it any other way. So we need to always remember those points and work hard at what we want to achieve. Let us stay humble and remember Bhagavan within us, and we'll be able to excel at everything we do, because we'll be able to exhibit God's brilliance within us equally. So there's a lot more to this verse, but we'll bring our katha to an end here today. Before we go into meditation, let us do a small bhajan as we usually do. It's a familiar bhajan, so I hope we can all group our voices together. Just give me a second here to find it. This bhajan tells us, Tan tambura taraman अद्भुत है साज हरि के कर से बज रहा हरि की है आवाज तन तंबूरा तारमन. In the same way that you know a tanpura, right? A tanpura has strings, a musical instrument. The tana tambura, let's assume our body is the instrument. Adhyuta Haye Saz, this very wonderful instrument, Taraman, and it has the strings, and the strings is our breath.
So what we do, Hari ke kar se baj raha, we should play the tune of Hari hi hai awaz. The voice that should come out of this tanpura, the voice that should come out from a combination of the body and the breath is Jai Siya Ram Ram, Jai Radhe Shyam. That is the music, that is the voice that should come out of this tanpura like body of ours. So let's group our voices together and remember Bhagavan sits within us, and that which should come out from us should only be that which is divine. Tan tambura tarman arbyut hai saas, Hari ke kar se baj raha, Hari ki hai awaaz. तन के तंबूरे मैं दो, तन के तंबूरे मैं दो, सांसों की तार बोले जय सिया राम राम, जय राधे श्याम श्याम, जय सिया राम राम, जय राधे श्याम श्याम। तन के तंबूरे मैं दो, तन के तंबूरे मैं दो, सांसों की तार बोले जय सिया राम राम, जय राधे श्याम श्याम, जय सिया राम राम, जय राधे श्याम श्याम। अब तो इस मन के मंदिर में प्रभु का हुआ बसेरा, प्रभु का हुआ बसेरा। अब तो इस मन के मंदिर में प्रभु का हुआ बसेरा, प्रभु का हुआ बसेरा। मग्न हुआ मन मेरा छूटा जन्म जन्म का तेरा, जन्म जन्म का तेरा। मग्न हुआ मन मेरा छूटा जन्म जन्म का तेरा, जन्म जन्म का तेरा। मन की मुरलिया रे हो, मन की मुरलिया रे, मन की मुरलिया रे। सुर का सिंगार बोले जय सिया राम राम, जय राधे श्याम श्याम, जय सिया राम राम, जय राधे श्याम श्याम। तन के तंबूरे मैं दो, तन के तंबूरे मैं दो, सांसों की तार बोले जय सिया राम राम, जय राधे श्याम श्याम, जय सिया राम राम, जय राधे श्याम श्याम। लगन लगी लीला सारी से, लगन लगी लीला धारी से। जगीर जगमग ज्योति, जगीर जगमग ज्योति। राम नाम का हीरा पाया, श्याम नाम का मोती, श्याम नाम का मोती। लगन लगी लीला धारी से, जगीर जगमग ज्योति, जगीर जगमग ज्योति। राम नाम का हीरा पाया, श्याम नाम का मोती, जगीर जगमग ज्योति। प्यासी दो अखियों में हो, प्यासी दो अखियों में, प्यासी दो अखियों में। आंसू के तार बोले जय सिया राम राम, जय राधे श्याम श्याम, जय सिया राम राम, जय राधे श्याम श्याम। तन की तंबूरे मैं दो, तन की तंबूरे मैं दो, सांसों की तार बोले जय सिया राम राम, जय राधे श्याम श्याम, जय सिया राम राम, जय राधे श्याम श्याम। जय सिया राम राम, जय राधे श्याम, जय सिया राम राम, जय राधे श्याम।
Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki Jai. Shall we take a comfortable position with our eyes closed? It is time for us to do that which is the best thing that we can do for ourselves during our lifetime, is to focus the mind on Bhagavan. This meditation that we do is beneficial to us on so many different levels. Just to bring one to our attention, a study was done by Harvard University and show that it reveals growth regions in our brain, that region that is responsible for our memory. Regular meditation helps us to show growth in that region of the brain, which is responsible for emotions and perspective and memory. Importantly, this part of the brain is called a hippocampus. And the study has shown essentially what it means that our memory, so one of the benefits of meditation, our memory will get stronger. Doesn't matter what our age is, because meditation plays a pivotal role in our memory function, and it helps the hippocampus. So it shows that meditation can increase the size and the strength of the hippocampus. That it is possible for one to delay forgetfulness, especially as we get older. We think that now we've earned a right to be forgetful. There are younger people who are forgetful as well, but it's something that comes with old age as well. But it says here that meditation would delay forgetfulness in old people. An example it gives, the study gives, is just like muscles of a person who goes to the gym all the time. He maintains his muscle mass. In a similar manner, meditation will keep the brain strong, operating strong. That the memory system of the brain can be fine-tuned to meet our fullest potential. That meditation can provide you, or provide us as human beings, with a system upgrade. Like how we upgrade everything else, our smartphones, and it gets better. The university study says that meditation gives us a system upgrade, gives the brain a system upgrade, and makes you feel brand new again, with renewed memory strength and power. So that's just one of the benefits of meditation. But the meditation we do is called Rup Dhyan, which is focusing on God. So we get all those benefits and the benefit of worshiping God. So let's take a deep breath in for at least 4 counts. Deep breath in. Try to hold it for 3 or 4 counts if you can. Then exhale for as long as you can. Inhale again. Hold it. Exhale. As long as you can. Exhale. Let's do this one more time. This will slow the heartbeat. Inhale. When the heartbeat is slowed down, the body becomes softer. We become more relaxed. Hold it. Hold it. Exhale. And now, with our eyes closed, let's imagine that we're walking through this most beautiful flower field. A clear path is in the middle of this flower field. And as you're walking, the wind is cool and it's calm. And it's brushing on your face and your nostrils. You can smell the beautiful scent of all these flowers. You can see the different colors. The sun is slightly warm. And the sun rays are coming towards your body. As you walk leisurely, you stroll through this beautiful flower garden, and you can see all different colors of flowers. The daffodils, the yellow daffodils, and sunflowers. You can see the white lilies and the pink orchid. You can see the multicolored tulips and roses. You can see the lavender, you can smell it. Because flowers abound in this garden. And there's a riot of colors. They're blossom-filled beds. And you're stunned by the breathtaking beauty. The overpowering fragrance. And you remember Bhagavan. He says that smell is me. That color is me. That beauty is me. You love the sound of the tinkling, the wind chimes. You hear the birds chirping. And you remember that your Bhagavan sits within all those birds. It is because of his power they can chirp. You're listening to the burbling of the waterfalls that is right beside you. And you're hearing the plants gently rustling in the wind. You can see the beautiful butterflies of different colors fluttering. And fluttering gracefully, and you remember of your Bhagavan that he sits within that as well. And you're now approaching this huge banyan tree. It's right in front of you. And you remember what Bhagavan says, that I am the seed. You remember where that banyan tree came from. It started from a seed. And you can hear her symphonic voice. You hear this beautiful music coming towards you as you approach this banyan tree. As you look carefully under the tree as you're approaching it, you see this movement, a very hypnotic kind of movement. And you get closer, and you remember, Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita, Ashwata sarva vrikshanam devarishinam chanarada, that amongst all the trees, I am the banyan tree. Sri Krishna says this in chapter 10. That the banyan tree has a very soothing effect on people who sit under it, and this is why. The Buddha meditated under the banyan tree and got enlightenment. Because Bhagavan says, I'm the banyan tree. It is the energy, it is the brilliance of Bhagavan that is playing. And now you're under the banyan tree. And you can see little trees all around you, little fruit trees. As you sit under the banyan tree, you remember how Kanhaiya was making fun with the gopis. You remember Hanumanji was hiding up in the tree when Mata Sita was sitting underneath in the Ashok Vatika. You remember the divinity with trees, and Hanumanji appeared from a tree, and Bhagavan says, I am the tree. Around this huge banyan tree, there are many fruit trees, some laden with fruits of different colors and sizes and tastes. Some have no fruits. This represents the gunas, the three gunas within us, Rajogun, the three modes of existence, goodness, passion, and darkness. But under the banyan tree, there's always balance. There's always divinity there. And so, thinking of all of this, your eternal companion, your favorite form of God, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, has appeared there, or your favorite form of God has appeared there, because it's a divine tree, because you had him in mind, because you're trying to manifest the brilliance within you, which is your spirituality. Right in front of you, Bhagavan sits there. He joins you on the bench, right in front of you. And now it is confirmed in your mind that it is because of His grace, as you look at His beauty, it is because of His grace that you felt so comfortable and peaceful under this banyan tree. You can feel the shade and the clean air and the beautiful sound of the birds, surrounded by fruits and flowers. You remember Bhagavan says, in Bhagavad Mahapuran, he says, Nigamakal galitam phalam Shukamukha didamadavasam yutam Pivata bhagavatam rasamalayam Muraho rasika bhuvi bhavuka. Bhagavan says, if you want to drink my sweetness in the same way that you drink the sweetness, the ras of the sweetest mango that is available, the palam, in the same way this tree provides you my grace. If you think of me while you sit under here, this is what would happen every time. I will appear in front of you and you'll be able to attain my grace. He says to you, all you have to do is close your eyes wherever you are, anytime. Imagine that you're sitting under my tree, the peepal tree, and that I will appear as long as you're thinking about me. I will be there to give you my grace. This shade is Bhagavan's grace, like we talked about earlier. Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. His Sharanam, His grace, His shade, His umbrella is all it takes to make our lives blissful, peaceful, and eternally happy. Hari Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki Jai. So thank you very much for joining us. This is where we come to the close of our satsang. For those of you who've been following us, especially today before we close, I want to thank all the pundits and the teachers, my dad, Pandit Satyacharan Sharma, my chacha from Canada, Pandit Lokmanya, my mamu, Pandit Hari Prasad Dad, Pandit Chandaban Hardwar is with us. Dr. Lakshman Hardwar, also a devotee of Bhagavan Krishna and a scholar. All the young Pandits from Guyana, my brother Pandit Tulsi and Pandit Amit, all the other young Pandits and any other Pandit who may have joined us today, we're always grateful for your presence in our satsang. For those of you who've been joining us, you will see that we have a crowd here today. And I say a crowd because my niece and nephew, they have joined us today, Ravi and Crystal. Now when I say niece and nephew, just to clarify, many of you watching you know my siblings, so you're probably asking whose children. So these are my adopted niece and nephew, the children of Sharmalaji, who is a very hard-working volunteer for the foundation. She's the public relations director of the foundation, working really hard, so we're grateful for her. And their father, these children's father, very prominent Pandit, unfortunately, the late Pandit Subhasji, hailed from a very, very established Pandit family in Trinidad, a family of more than 20 Pandits, I think. So we're happy and grateful to have Ravi and Chrissy. They have come here. They have done something that I wouldn't do for anybody, I think. They have quarantined for 2 weeks, not passing their house door or allowing anybody through their house door so that they can come here and spend some time with. Have you been looking at our show and hearing the Dantal? Well, our Dantal specialist here, you know, she celebrated her birthday 2 days ago. I know you know who I'm talking about. So, you know, Ravi and Chrissy are best buddies of Anna and Ambika. So they made that sacrifice to come and spend time with Ambika for her birthday. So welcome to you, Ravi and Chrissy, and feel free to come anytime. You know, as you can see, Anand can chorus now, and you can get to play dholak. You know, Ravi is always very busy, so can't come too often. He's self-employed, and Chrissy doesn't have much to do. She's just in medical school, so that's not doing a whole lot. So I guess she can come more often. So thank you to all of you. Thank you for everyone who has joined us today, and please join us again. We're still in the season of Purushottamas, so please do all the satkarma you can do, all these stotras and all these kirtans, and whatever else, charity, whatever you can do it now. During this time, because as someone was saying to me, one point I want to make, someone has brought to my attention a couple days ago that last week, when I mentioned that the difference between the time of the sun and the moon, and that every 3 years, every 32 months and 16 days we'll have an extra month, this person has very kindly, you know, come and you know, called me and said this can be misinterpreted or misconstrued by some people to mean that every 3 years there'll be a month between Pitru Paksh and Navrat. That's not the case. Malmas or Adhik Mas happens every 3 years, but this is the first time after 165 years. It can happen anywhere between 143, 165 years. It can happen. This time it's after 165 years that is happening between Pitru Paksh and Navrat. That is why it is so popular. That is why so many people know about it. That's why Pandits get so many calls, etc. Because we recognize it's there. Usually we don't recognize. So it's not going to happen like this every 3 years. We will have a Adhik Mas, the extra month, but it will not necessarily be between Pitru Paksh and Navratri. So the school is open, as you can see. So please spread the message around, share the video so that the most children and adults can join in and benefit from our free classes. There's also a website that is made specifically for this school. It's radhakrishnafoundation.com. The words are spelled out. Radha Krishna Foundation. So if you go there, you'll be able to register your child. I'm just thinking of if there's any other announcement, but no, please visit our Facebook page. Oh, one more thing. Today is a day of announcements. I don't know why. Today is when we finish the latest, and there's so many announcements. But some very kind-hearted person, I don't know who it is, has decided to make a Facebook page for me. I didn't request it, and they didn't seek my permission. Somebody who has a little extra time on their hands, and started reaching out to some of my relatives and friends, getting them to join this Facebook page. I just want to let you know, whoever is listening, that I don't have a Facebook page. Our Facebook page is Radha Krishna Foundation, and we that keeps us busy. So if you get something from anybody, then it's not me. I don't have a personal Facebook page. That's enough announcements for today. Please keep following us on Radha Krishna Foundation and register your children for classes. Today, since Anand has company, I've asked him to say the closing prayers, so we'll join in closing prayers now. It'll be done by Anand.
Om Kayena Vacha Manasendriyaiva Buddhyatmana va Prakrite Svabhavat Karomi Adyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayanaye Ti Samarpayami Om Bar Bar Barmangao Harishadev Shri Rang Padasarojayana Payani Bhakti Sada Satasang Om Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhush Chasakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Om Apati Mahadeva Ki Jai Pavan Sutta Hanuman Ki Jai Siyabad Ramachandra Ki Jai Sharanam Prabhu Sab Santan Ki Jai Jai Sitaram
Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Raseshwari Radha Rani ki Jai. Until we meet again, may Bhagavan keep you safe.
Radha Krishna Foundation launches RKF Virtual Academy, a unique blend of curriculum-based cultural and academic e-learning programs on a fully integrated learning management system designed for all ages. With qualified professional instructors at all levels, we aim to deliver the most amazing learning experience from the comfort of your home, all free of cost. Yoga, meditation, and pranayam for adults and children. Karate, classical dance, vocal, tabla, Sanskrit, Hindi, Bhagavad Gita recitation, and tutoring for the CSEC and National Grade 6 exams. In a new world without boundaries, we have made all our programs available to everyone around the globe, structured for multiple time zones, regardless of race, religion, or age. Registration begins on October 1st, 2020, on our website, radhakrishnaffoundation.com. Take advantage of this unique opportunity for your children and yourself. Share with your family and friends. Make a commitment to yourself now. Let's all learn and grow together. RKF Virtual Academy, mobilizing minds, empowering lives. Radha Krishna Foundation presents an international event. Friday, November 13th, 2020. Deepavali, Return of Light. This live satsang is presented by Radha Krishna Foundation in light of the ongoing lockdown and in support of Sri Lakshmi Mandir of West Palm Beach, Florida. Radha Krishna Dham of number 73 Village, Guyana. Dharma Mandir of London, United Kingdom. And Shiva Mandir Ashram of Legwan Island, Guyana.